Good morning, everybody. My name is Karel Balak. I am from AREP, or the Association for Renewable Energy Practitioners. We have an interesting lineup today. This particular meeting is not open to our entire member base. So it was kind of limited to a specific number of stakeholders in industry. Let me just get my screen sorted. Full screen. So it was limited to a specific number of stakeholders in industry that have a particular interest in fire suppression and fire prevention. I see Marius has also joined us today. The Fire Prevention Association from Fire Prevention Association of South Africa have joined us. We've got a number of distributors. We've got a number of financiers. We've got a couple of what I'd like to call, and maybe it's not the right word, but fire experts. Guys who have been looking at risks around fire suppression and fire prevention, specifically related to solar PV installations. And we are going to be looking at the presentations of a few of you, and then after that we'll have a quick discussion to see how we can take this conversation further. The regulations in South Africa doesn't currently make provision for fire prevention or fire suppression for solar installations specifically. And I think this discussion is really to try and initiate either a document or a conversation where we can start moving in a direction in creating something that is accepted by manufacturers, distributors, financiers, and insurers. So welcome, everybody. I think we can start. Monica, I see you on number 1 on the list. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Carl?
Yes. That is excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch my camera off. I know Mariesha had a very strict timeline with regards to a presentation. You have an interesting lineup, you have an interesting background, and you have been involved with fire, should I call it consultation? Would you like to introduce yourself? Maybe we should start there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Yeah, when I got the phone call, I was quite surprised, but very excited for what opportunity was given to us today. Just briefly, I'm from a company called Lorca Consulting, or Lorca Labs, as we're known in the insurance industry. And we're a consulting firm that works for the insurance industry and private individuals, scientific investigations regarding failure analysis. And I'm an analytical chemist by trade. I've been in the industry for more than 20 years with a specific interest in lightning and battery damage. So as a trained chemist, I'm used to the normal lead acid batteries, and then all of a sudden the lithiums came popping in. And yeah, this is the result, I guess, of this presentation. So thank you all, and let's just give it a quick start. This is our biggest nightmare, commercial and residential fires. Horrific experience for anyone who's been involved in these fires, personally or just as a bystander, and poses a huge risk for industry, the environment, actually all cross-board. Potential fire hazards on a premises include so many things: your electronics and reticulate systems, old and damaged wiring, extension cords, appliances, heaters, cooking, gas installations, and then with the new installations of the PV systems in South Africa, obviously the batteries. Now, I'm not here to to say don't use lithium batteries. So it might sound like that, but I would like to just share what I know about them and how they react, just so that everyone has a good idea. Our normal lead acid batteries that we used were low energy density batteries. They ensured that a very low rate of reaction, and they didn't pose a massive fire risk. Now, lithium batteries are generally safe during normal use, but there is a fire risk involved if anything goes wrong: overcharging, short-circuiting, submerging in water. All kinds of damage is involved with these batteries. So that doesn't only pose a risk in our residences, but also a risk in waste management. I've researched this quite a bit, looking at the batteries that end up in waste refuge. And we've done a couple of dump truck fires as a result, fire investigations, where we realized that lithium batteries were discarded in normal dump trucks, resulting in massive fires. And a landfill fire is potentially very harmful to the environment, not because of the lithium batteries themselves, but their capacity to ignite everything around it. And that poses a very big environmental risk. Now, this was a truck fire that we investigated, and this was a fire caused by a normal lead acid battery. So I'm not saying they're not dangerous. And this truck, the whole cabin burnt out as a result of a normal lead acid 12-volt battery. So that also happens. This is the result of a lithium fire. As I mentioned, the dump trucks, it's happening more frequently. I see that in Australia, it's becoming a huge issue in their recycling endeavors. And I'm worried that we're going to have the same situation. Now, there's been a very big increase in lithium-ion battery fires. We've seen it in vehicle fires, residential fires to a horrific extent. And I think it's the lack of education and people not being used to what these batteries can do. So we need to find a way that people can easily identify these batteries, understand the risks, and be prepared in the event of an incident happening. There's so many applications. I'm not going to go through it. I'm sure you all have 2 or 3 lithium power devices right next to you or in the room where you're currently sitting. Now, just basic solar installation setup. Your solar panels, charge controllers, MPPTs, inverters, then your battery and storage systems. And what has changed now is pretty much the batteries. We used to seeing solar setups with these old big lead acid batteries leaking all over the show, and fumes everywhere in the rooms. And they were usually stored outside as a rule because they're so messy and bulky. And with the introduction of lithium batteries, because they're clean, they're light, compact units, it's easy to wall mount them. People have become a little bit complacent regarding the dangers of batteries. Because I was in a residence the other day for an assessment not pertaining to a solar installation, and the lady was showing her solar setup to me, and she was like, I don't understand where the batteries are. And she's a smart lady. I mean, she's a chartered accountant, and she couldn't identify her batteries against the wall because they were not marked. It just looks like the inverters. And she was like, she wonders if they put them in the basement. And I'm like, they're right there on the wall. These are your batteries. Very neat, nice installation right below a wooden ceiling in her residence. And she wasn't aware that they were actually the batteries that generated power for her when Eskom failed. So lithium batteries, like I said, they're not as easily identifiable. And what we've also encountered is lithium batteries don't look like lithium batteries. Some of them actually look like the normal gel type batteries that we used to, especially in motor vehicles. And then in addition, they have a PC card in them, or most of them should have a battery monitoring system. And that is also very prone to lightning damage. We've seen this a lot. So that's what your lithium battery would look like after a kind of an autopsy on them. And that would be your electronics unit that is usually built into your good quality lithium batteries as a measure to control their charge, etc. Now, lithium batteries pose a significant threat when they're not stored properly and treated properly. There's a lot of advancements in the manufacturing of lithium batteries, but the standard lithium batteries contain flammable electrolytes that can ignite and create a fire. It spreads very quickly. The temperature of the fire is way above what we're used to in normal batteries. Now, what makes it even worse is when lithium batteries are stored together, the risk of a chain reaction becomes more real. The big threat with lithium batteries is what we call a thermal runaway. And I'm sure you've all heard this word. It's all over the news, all over the internet when you research batteries. And this is a chain reaction that results, even if one battery in a system goes, or one battery cell is defective, or something happens, it gets punctured, you get overheating, gas generation, and even explosion in the batteries. And this is when the critical threshold of temperature is reached. It can be due to overcharging, even just high ambient temperature, or internal short circuit in the battery itself. And once you have a thermal runaway, the adjacent cells would ignite because lithium batteries are more sensitive to heat than other batteries. So to prevent a thermal runaway, it's essential to monitor the temperature of the battery, limit the charging rate, avoid overcharging, and keep the batteries within a safe range. Proper ventilation is also required, and early detection systems and emergency response procedures should be in place to mitigate the consequence of these thermal runaways. Are lithium batteries more prone to causing fires? I'm not going to say yes, because I'm going to get slaughtered by some of the attendees in this meeting. And I'm not going to say yes, but I'm going to say that at 150 degrees, the cells can become unstable. Internal short circuits happen in these batteries. External heat sources will harm the batteries. Thermal abuse, mechanical abuse, electrical abuse, and these batteries can actually, I don't want to use the term self-ignition because that's not actually a real term in fire chemistry, but they can create explosive gases even while they're not in use. So as we said, there's usually an initiation event. The external causes of damage would be electrical abuse to the batteries, mechanical abuse or thermal abuse, and internal causes would be defects and self-heating ignition. And I was in a battery conference last year where one of the Chinese distributors actually said that, because I asked them about quality control in their factory, and she said, oh, the lower quality batteries get exported. And that was extremely alarming to me. So to hear from an international supplier that they export lower quality batteries to places like Africa with words was very alarming to me, because these batteries, when defective, is very dangerous. So as soon as your temperature rises, you get an increase in reaction rate, which then in turn increases the temperature again, and that results in the thermal runaway that results in fire. Now this slide actually sums it up the best. So you have your mechanical abuse. That would be anything from the battery being crushed, like in a garbage truck, for example. If you drop a battery, you can cause internal damage. And that results in the separate cells in the battery actually tearing. And when the separators tear, you get a mix of your chemicals in the battery, resulting in thermal activity in the battery. Electrical abuse, well, that would be things like overcharging. But in saying that, that can also be as a result of a lightning strike. I've had one incident that I investigated where lightning was actually directly involved in our best hypotheses. It was lightning that resulted in a BMS unit of a lithium battery actually going, resulting in a massive chain reaction and loss of a 12 million rand thatched roof house. Now, this happens when dendrites grow, and again, there's separator piercing that happens in the battery, resulting in overheating and then that chain reaction. The thermal abuse would be extreme overheating. So any source of fire near such a battery, even if there's a house fire caused by the reticulate system failing or anything like that, if the lithium batteries are in close vicinity, and they are normally placed near a distribution board on a premises or a lot of wiring, So even external fire starting in a home can actually result in ignition of your lithium battery bank. And these thermal runaways are almost impossible to stop. Once it is in action and in process, it is extremely difficult. And that is where education will come in, to show people that you have something that is very advanced, very efficient when used correctly, but very dangerous if you do not know the hazards involved. Lithium batteries complete our fire triangle. This is the old traditional fire triangle. It's now actually not a triangle anymore, but it fully fulfills everything that is required in a fire. As mentioned, the temperature of lithium fires are also hotter than normal residential fires would be. So in a normal residential fire, you'll see temperatures rising up to about conservatively 850 degrees, where lithium fires can burn up to 1,200 degrees and would ignite and result in combustion of anything in the close vicinity. So they're very difficult to stop. Just in summary, the basic causes of damage and then resulting in thermal runaway. It always, any damage can result in the thermal runaway, which is then the most dangerous and threatening to our premises and buildings, vehicles, and etc. Now, the next step would be, there's actually 3 steps. Installing fire suppression systems. Now, water-based suppression is effective in the sense that it cools a lithium fire, but water cannot be used to extinguish a lithium fire. The best is actually to cool the environment around the lithium fire and then let it take its course, which is also very bad when you consider a bank of lithium batteries inside a kitchen or house or bedroom. And we also need to have responsible systems installed, lithium batteries with proper BMS units that you can monitor, control, and optimize. I like the telephone apps, the cell phone apps. You can check the temperature of your lithium battery in the comfort of your car, wherever you are. On holiday, you can actually monitor the temperature as well, which is very necessary. And the other thing is storing lithium batteries in a different way, so that they are not grouped together in huge warehouses or huge storerooms, but separated, that if something goes wrong, you actually lessen the risk. Now, just as a final conclusion, I just want to mention that this is now not relevant to PV installations, but just how uneducated the public actually have, or not become, but are as a result of lithium batteries. My neighbor came to me the other day and he's like, can I please charge his alarm system battery, which he stores in his bedroom closet? And he handed me this battery that his little boy was running around with around the pool just prior to him handing it to me. And when I noticed, I noticed the battery was extremely light. So lithium batteries have even snuck into our alarm systems and gate motors, garage door openers. So it's not just the visible batteries, but you're actually sleeping in a bedroom where there's a lithium battery in your closet. And if you're not aware of it, you cannot actually ensure the safety of these batteries. So yeah, that was just my short introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. Just thank you very much for the presentation. Just a quick question. I'm going to try and reserve the Q&A for after everyone has presented. Are you going to be able to stick around until the end of the meeting, which I believe is geared or aimed towards 11 o'clock, or would you prefer to have your questions now?
No problem. I'll be around.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Marlies, are you in the meeting? Can you hear me? I can see your name on the attendance list of attendees. So I know you are in the meeting. It's possible that you just have issues with your microphone. Marlies Andre from Eskom would be our next presenter, unless Marlies is having some technical difficulties. Marlies. Okay.
Well, perhaps we should just switch around and have circular energy do first, and then I'll reach out to Marlies offline.
Is this Patricia?
That was Marisha, your colleague.
Well, was that Marisha? Okay, sorry. For some reason, the sound didn't come through very clearly, so I couldn't hear who was talking.
Carl?
Yes.
Sorry, man. Yes, I had some technical difficulty. No unmuting on my side. Morning.
Alice, there you are. Okay, that's cool. If you could please introduce yourself and go ahead with your presentation, that should be interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl. I'm trying to share here. I apologize for the technical difficulty. I was not expecting that. But yeah, let me see if I can share. It's just freezing on my side. But good morning, everyone. It's Marlies Andre. I work for Eskom, looking after fire protection. So I was asked today to, or I have shared previously on our experience with regards to fire prevention and fire mitigation on PV and BESS. And since we've been in a position where we have installed a large industrial scale BESS systems and obviously also PV systems as well. So unfortunately now on my side, I'm sorry, man, I'm struggling to share. This thing is just freezing. I wanted to share one slide, and maybe I can do that when it actually unlocks on my side. But the principle is, I was very impressed with Monica's presentation now, and I share exactly the fears, the concerns, and the aspects that she has. And I've very many times also shared that presentation, not only with my colleagues, but with individuals outside that is responsible to ensure the safety of the people around these very scary systems that we're installing, especially with regards to the lithium-ion batteries. What I wanted to do is to just share with you our philosophy in terms of fire protection. And like I said, I know you're asking me to share the slide now. But again, I don't know why. Yeah.
It is possible if it's available in PDF, maybe you can just drop it in Marisha's WhatsApp and then she can open it from her side.
It's fine. It's just going to take me a little bit of concentration to do that. So
okay.
Talking and doing that is not. If you can maybe skip to the next one, I can send it to her quickly.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe take it over. Sorry, man.
No, that's 100%. Patricia, are you available?
Yes. Good morning, Carl. I'm available.
Do you want to, while we're busy sorting out Marlies's presentation, do you want to maybe introduce yourself and quickly do your presentation?
Yes, I will. So I just want to quickly share.
Thank you very much. It was fascinating. It says you've started screen sharing. I can't. Yeah, there it is. There it is. I was kind of thinking of you when Monica started talking about the dump trucks or the refuse trucks. So okay. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Okay, so just as an introduction, and good morning, everybody, and thank you, Carl and AREP for inviting us to this session this morning. I think what we're discussing here is really, really important. My name is Patricia Schroeder. I'm the CEO of Circular Energy, and I'm going to jump straight into my presentation, and I'll be talking more about what happens to these products when they break, when they are no longer useful, when they become a waste. So Circular Energy is a producer responsibility organization. It is duly registered as a not-for-profit producer responsibility organization in accordance with the legal requirements of the extended producer responsibility regulations that were published in 2020, implemented as of November 2021. Circular Energy operates a nationwide take-back system for the collection, recycling, and environmentally sound processing of waste, electrical and electronic equipment. For short, lighting and lighting equipment, all types of batteries, and paper and packaging products. As a PRO, we are approved and registered with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment with the following registration numbers. And it's all there, so you can go check. So we service 5 sectors. So it's electrical and electronic equipment, lighting and lighting equipment, paper and packaging products, portable household batteries, and lubricant oil. Now I'm going to go into what the circular energy, what it's about, and the regulations that stand behind what we do. And this is very important to know in terms of these regulations, who is obligated and what we do in terms of assisting the obligated parties. So under the National Environmental Management Waste Act, we have Section 18, which is the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulations, which came into force in May 2021. So these regulations are applicable to all the sectors as targeted by DFFE to date. And I've mentioned 5 that we service. There's a number of other sectors. And it provides the framework for all Section 18 EPR schemes. And it sets the minimum requirements for EPR schemes and PROs to operate, that is ourselves. So, and then these regulations actually are the rules and governs all the framework around the different requirements in these regulations. And then there are separate notices which are issued to a sector, and a sector needs to comply. So as you can see in this over here, I've put 2 examples. So there's a notice for the lighting sector, then a notice for the electrical and electronic equipment sector, of which industrial batteries form part of the EEE notice. And it's important to read these 2 documents together, and they are available on our website if you want to go and review these regulations. So these notices are applicable to a specific sector. You just need to find the one, and then it details how implementation will be done, and it also lists the products and class of products identified in the notice, and it sets targets. So when we talk about identified products, it means the products that are identified in the notice, and it falls under mandatory take back. So in other words, it means that any product as listed needs to be taken back. It cannot go to any other source. It must be taken back by a producer responsibility organization. It's also important to know that all products, electrical and electronic products, batteries, lighting, are restricted to landfill as of August 2013 for lighting and August 2016 for electrical products, electronic products, and batteries. So how does this work? So under the Environmental Waste Management Act, we have these regulations, and there's a definition called producers. Now, producers is any company who places an identified product on the South African market, and they must take on the producer obligations under these regulations, and we do that on their behalf. So any company that imports, and we have to report on an annual basis. So it's a calendar year from January to December. So any company that imports an identified product or locally manufactures an identified product to sell, or sells that product via e-commerce. Now, all batteries, industrial type batteries, lithium, all battery chemistries, renewable energy technologies, televisions, appliances, it doesn't matter, any electrical and electronic equipment falls under the identified products in the EEE notice. And this means it needs to be managed accordingly, and the producers are given the financial and operational responsibility and accountability to make sure that their products are managed correctly at end of life. And this is why they appoint Circular Energy to do this on their behalf. So this means when a producer or a company, when they are now obligated under these regulations, they have to pay what they call an EPR fee to Circular Energy, their PRO. And as part of the requirements that we need to do, the biggest requirement in terms of our budget is the end-of-life management. So we appoint accredited waste management and recycling service providers, and the users of the products, or the consumers, if you want to call it that, have a mechanism where they can have the product collected, or where they can drop off the product at a licensed accredited facility. So when we accredit our service partners, we have to ensure that they manage the products correctly. They are fully audited. They also are regulated under the Waste Management Act. And so we have to ensure that in terms of the waste classification regulations, that they are licensed and registered. We have to ensure that they follow the Road Traffic Act for transport of dangerous goods. And I'm talking about now all your renewable technologies, your batteries, your lithium ions, it doesn't matter. In this case, any electrical and electronic equipment is classified as hazardous in South Africa. And that's according to the UN codes for hazardous materials. We have to ensure that they follow the special handling procedures for dangerous goods, such as lithium ion batteries, which was mentioned earlier. And when these licensed facilities receive these products, they determine the toxicity of the product. Now, one must remember there's a difference between a hazardous product and a toxicity of a product. They determine the toxicity, and only a licensed facility can treat and accept these products that are classified as hazardous and or toxic. So this is very important, because in South Africa, we are finding that a lot of the reclaimed or salvaged materials, televisions, anything, is going to just scrap dealers or buyers that will just buy it on. But they just extract the valuables, and the rest ends up in a skip or goes to landfill, which is illegal. So the only legal way to manage these products is through the Waste Act and the regulations that govern that. We also need to ensure that they follow the waste manifest regulations, which are written in the Waste Act. And the waste manifest regulations means that the product is tracked and traced from the point of origin where it was collected or dropped off, right through to the transporter who transported, that it's transported in the correct vehicles and handled correctly as a hazardous or dangerous good, and that it is delivered to the end facility that is licensed. And all of this is tracked through the waste management system, which is regulated in the Waste Act. And all of this reporting is being brought back to Circular Energy so that we can report back to the regulator and to our members. So in terms of what we do, and we work, as I said, with a nationwide footprint, and we implement an all-stakeholder approach. So we have to integrate municipalities into our system. We work with retailers and distributors. We work with consumers directly, where we can collect directly from households, or we raise all the awareness around consumers as best we can on how they can manage these products, and when something happens to them, if they're damaged by hail or whatever the case may be. And it's important that also that we as Circular Energy, we want to engage with insurers to make sure that these products are managed correctly and according to the legal requirements. We work with collectors, transporters, and then of course the treatment and recycling facilities. And this is just a drill down of how the downstream management or waste management chain works, where the companies that actually sell the products to the consumer, that we manage this entire system as part of the EPR regulations. Then in terms of the actual management of the product or the products, so our service partners are, as I said, externally audited by professionals and verified that they have the capacity, the capability, the authorizations and licenses and so forth to be able to manage these products in an environmentally sound manner. So for solar PV, Circular Energy has been instrumental for the compliant recycling of solar PV modules for the last 2 years. And through collaboration with our service partners, just last year, over 400 tons of solar PV modules have been recycled. And this ensures that our members and their customers are fully compliant with the legislation and the legal requirements for the sound end-of-life management for renewable energy products placed on the South African markets. Additionally, one has to think of all the benefits out of this. We recover secondary materials for local and international markets to help support the local economy, and it also creates jobs and skills development, and the list goes on, because we have to meet all those requirements in terms of the regulations as well. Now, in terms of the lithium-ion battery management and recycling, the sound management of these batteries is just as important as compliantly recycling them to prevent accidents and or injuries. So again, you will see these images here. We have licensed facilities in South Africa that can manage these products, and you'll see the image on the right. That is a BESS system, battery energy storage system, that actually one of the batteries went critical, and the whole system went up in flames. And this was at a shopping center, by the way. And this had to be recovered and compliantly taken and treated and recycled in a licensed facility, a DFFE licensed facility. So all of these products can be safely recycled, recovered, and according to set standards and procedures, to ensure that it is done safely with no harm to any of the staff or anything like that. And the materials then get recovered, and it also enables the transition from a linear economy to a circular economy, and recovering of resources, which enables localization for production of battery metals and battery cells. So, the list goes on all the benefits, but we have to ensure that these products are managed correctly when something goes wrong. So extended producer responsibility enabled the development of local recycling and recovery of lithium-ion batteries in these licensed facilities to produce a black mass or a raw material for further processing into battery materials. The next phase that we are focusing in on now is to convert these products into battery metals and oxides. So it puts them back into their raw form, where they can then be reused. In terms of our end-of-life management on our website, we have seen that this grow quite substantially in 2023, especially with the consumer market, where you can go and request a collection for any of your electrical and electronic products, televisions, or whatever the case may be, where we would go and collect it. The waste manifest system is followed, where it's tracked and traced, and we can then report back on the materials that were received by the licensed facility, including all the materials recovery and so forth. And it's all done in according to the Waste Act and the legal requirements, as I mentioned before. And this option is for anybody that wants to arrange for a collection of a fridge or whatever the case may be. And we would then ensure that our licensed partners will go out and collect it and manage it. These are just some of our members. Just a quick flash. But anyway, so if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them whenever at the end, Carl. It doesn't have to be now. Thank you very much.
That is excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks, Patricia. I think we are running a little behind schedule. Marlies, are you available?
Yes, I'm ready. If you guys can just put up my presentation that I sent through, thanks.
Okay, that's excellent. You go. I'm going to leave you the floor, and you can carry on. Thanks, Marlies.
100%. Thanks for the opportunity. To keep with time and save us some time, I just created one slide, so you can go to the next slide. Thanks. So the principle that I wanted to share today with regards to fire, and again, I reiterate, it ties up with what Monica has been sharing, and the philosophy with what Eskom has been involved in with regards to large utility scale BESS, as well as PV installations. Fire prevention and mitigation doesn't start with understanding how we're going to fight the fire. we must start with fire risk control measures to ensure that we minimize the actual risk of the fire starting. And as it was explained as well, it's critical in terms of the first part there, the governance standards certifications of the actual components and the systems that we're installing. It must be governed to ensure, because as it was indicated, any mechanical damage, all of those type of things to the different batteries specifically now, there are standards in terms of quality control to ensure that if we have a battery that's certified according to those standards, then you have a better understanding and quality of the product, so that we don't get low quality products when we do these installations. So quality of product and components is critically important. But saying that as well, quality of the integrated system design is exceptionally important, because as we've seen PV failures and base failures, but mostly on the PV side as well, if it's the cabling, how that integrated system is if we don't do a design that fits every installation, we can end up with cables that's not rated correctly, or any type of product, and that can cause a failure. So quality of integrated system design is the next part that actually helps us in terms to minimize that risk of fire initiation. Quality of installation and commissioning is critically important. If you look at worldwide, some of the base fires that actually started during commissioning, before they even put the system into the system, the things fail due to a quality of installation, quality of commissioning, incorrect work procedures, etc. So governance standards and certifications is absolutely critical in terms of how to, as a starting point. And then plant layout that I've mentioned there as well. It is so important, especially some of the examples that's been mentioned in terms of where we locate in households, then these type of batteries, which the consumer may not necessarily be aware of the risk. So placing limitations on where these things are located. In my mind now, looking at large scale, we always look at passive fire protection as the best measure to do, because if you can separate the things properly from each other, then one burns down, but not everything burns down, and so on and so forth. Drainage, walls in between, all those type of things. So the whole plant layout aspect, and then for a smaller scale commercial, where we locate it, not putting it in malls or in office areas, where if it does go wrong, we don't kill half the people with the toxic gases that comes off of batteries, etc., etc. So plant layout, very critical, and that we can govern when we build the thing, when if we put rules down through that process. And Germany, America, everybody has these key guidelines that we can also follow accordingly and apply. Once we've put it down and we've followed quality product, quality installation, quality integrated design, life cycle inspection, testing, and maintenance is the next step of that system. If we do not enforce a full inspection, testing, and maintenance of the equipment that we put down by competent people with working procedures appropriate to the systems, we will get fires, we will get failures. So that is another point that is critical to govern for the minimization of the risk of fire initiation. In terms of when things are put down in remote areas or areas that could have vegetation control issues, we've seen very many fires on our side where it's actually a felt fire or a brush fire next door that actually is then an exposure fire to whatever we have built. So vegetation control, always in terms of, it depends now again on location and what type of plant we're talking about and how big it is and where it's located. But that vegetation control plus housekeeping doesn't help we position these things in an area, and then there's so many other oily rags or other fuel combination aspects that we put next to it. I sometimes see even on LPG gas installations, shopping malls, which is positioned next to the dumpster picky tip thing at the back, where an exposure fire to those gas cylinders can have horrific consequences if not controlled. So for me, the fire risk control measures, this is where we win 95% of the game in terms of fire if we do that. Then on the second part, in terms of emergency response, what then to do in case of a fire. So this is the other part where we then, what fire protection do you have? What fire detection? What manual firefighting equipment do you have in the area? Understanding that your customer who has this equipment in the facility, as well as the local fire brigade, because across the world, some of these incidences, especially the large-scale base incidents, we've killed firefighters because they were not aware of these explosive gases that comes off when base burns, and things like that, and not even talking about the customer in whose house some of these things are. So it's even PV panels, locating them on roofs of the house instead of the garage and things like that. But yeah, so for me, in terms of fire control, it's very critical to focus on the fire risk control measures where we minimize the risk of fire initiation, because this is where we will win the game. But then also the education of the customer, the local emergency response guys that must understand what's going on when they do respond to a fire like this, and then is also important to ensure the safety of the people and how we do this. Thanks. That's it from me, Cole. Thanks.
Wow, that was short and sweet. Thank you, Marlies. That actually, I don't think there could have been a better slide, because it really shows you what the different steps are and even how to implement them. Guys, we do have a number of documents that we can draw from. I know in industry there are, I don't know whether I want to call them rumors, but in industry there are guys claiming that there are building regulations that prevent lithium batteries from being installed in living spaces. But the regulation, if you really go and scrutinize it, doesn't really make provision for lithium batteries. And the only way that we can really take the next step, I think, is to try and understand what's going on in other countries, try and adopt documents that are existing documents. And Marlies, maybe this, I think, is a question to you first and then to Monica. I don't know whether we have any questions from the guys, questions or comments from the guys that have been listening, because I'm going to start opening the floor to questions and answers. We have about 11 minutes left, and then we have to conclude this meeting. And it would be nice if we could kind of set the scene of what's going to happen next, and whether we need to have another one of these engagements, or whether we identify a certain number of stakeholders that would be able to, I don't know, maybe draft the first framework for a document like that for South Africa. So let me just get back to the question for Monica first. Monica, do you think there is a shortcut for South Africa to get a document that would be suitable as a standards document, if we take into consideration that the first would be fire prevention? How do we approach that?
Sure, I've actually thought about this for quite some time, but for years actually, because I see the need for it. I think the best point or place to start would be customer education, consumer education, and that will come from installers of the equipment and even from the insurance industry, because insurers would phone you, set up a policy, but they would ask you about thatch roofs, about LAPAs near your house, but they wouldn't ask you about lithium batteries. So I think awareness is the first thing. And then maybe some draft document to highlight dangers and mitigation of hazard. But I'm not sure. I've thought about this, but I've not come up with anything solid as a good starting point. But I think a good starting point would be the installers of said lithium batteries. If they have some kind of regulation to follow on how to educate the clients, how to do the installation safely, suggest the best place to install these systems. But yeah, like I said, I'm still thinking about this as well.
Okay. Okay, that's great. I see Hein has a question. Hein, you can go after. I would just like Marlies to quickly give me thoughts on creating a framework for lithium battery installations. Marlies?
Coral, yes, thanks. I think definitely there is framework. There's that we can follow. There's American standards, the NFPA 855s. Look, it talks more industrial, but there's a rooftop mounted solar type of aspects on the FM global side. There are various standards or guidelines on the American side, and I've recently come across a nice German guideline as well, even though it's like a 329-page document. But again, that document starts, and I think that is definitely a starting point. Like I said, to say that there must be like wiring in these installations. Now, instead of following their requirement of NFPA 70, which is the American requirement for wiring, it's our requirement in the SANS 10149, which is the requirement for wiring of installations, etc. You know, the COC type of thing. So the starting point for me would be to put a type of a framework together which gives guidance that you cannot put in a battery that has not fulfilled a certain certification or qualification. Then as an installation, you have to have a COC, etc., etc. So building that framework to ensure that whatever we put on the floor is actually, number one, has safely incorporated all of those quality aspects that we need to minimize that risk of fire initiation. The second part with Monica's support there, 100%, that whole consumer aspect. I've come across nice little one-pagers in terms of consumers about battery education. Even in America, I see that it's a very big thing there where it's about don't drop your battery, don't whatever. You know, it's the one-pager where they give some stuff. So there are resources definitely that we can draw on and make it our own to fit within our market. But again, we must be very careful not to limit things in such a way that no one can put these things on the floor. So it's something that we must just balance and try and ensure that that safety aspect is brought out, but also we can still function within our market, within our environment. Thanks.
Marlies, a quick question on that German document you were referring to. Is it available free of charge on an open source kind of platform, or is it something that has to be bought?
No, I've downloaded it, so I can forward it to you as well.
Okay, that's great. Hein, would you like to ask your question quickly? The microphones are all activated, so you're welcome to go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, Monica is, listening to a presentation is referring to lithium in general. I mean, we all know that there are various types of lithium batteries out there. Lithium ion batteries historically has been NMC technology, which is nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Lately, major manufacturers have all changed to LiFePO4, which is lithium iron phosphate. Now, the thing is I don't believe that you should be treating all of these the same. And I'm just going to share my screen quickly. So let me just share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
So just to show you, so this is a LiFePO4 cell that's being used by a lot of manufacturers in their batteries. So talking about, so we all know that there is a BMS that does the major of the protection and everything. And I mean, companies like SIG Energy have even gone as far as adding thermal insulation as well as temperature sensors with fire extinguishers and everything inside the battery modules. But if you look at it here, the safety tests that they're doing on these LiFePO4 cells is overcharging, over discharging, full short circuit, extrusion test. In other words, they literally pull the cell, from two ends apart. Drop test, low pressure test, heating tests, and thermal runaway. And there's no fire or explosion on these cells. Basically meaning that they conform to various international standards, of which UL 954A is one of them. So, based on that, you can't say that the lithium ion battery that's inside a digital camera is the same as the one that goes inside a home for storage, because internationally, I think Europe, US, and the developed countries and Australia even are way ahead of us. So there have been standards that have been developed. And I know that a big claim is about the UL 954A, that the batteries conform to them before they are even allowed into those countries. So that makes these a lot safer. Yes, we do understand that in South Africa, we advocate for installing them in a garage behind a firewall should anything go wrong. But just to show you now, everybody likes to show the fire pictures. So this is a fire that actually happened at a house in South Africa. Was not caused by the solar or the batteries. It was actually caused by something else inside the garage where it ignited. And this was the actual cause of the fire was this item over here. These were the batteries right next door to it under the inverter. This was the battery after the fire. The BMS before it shut down recorded temperatures of 700 degrees Celsius. Here you can see that the batteries are intact still, no thermal runaway, no fire, no explosion. You can see that the insulation sheets have melted. There you can see that the battery still measured 53 volts after the fire. So what I'm just wanting to know is, generally speaking, we've got everybody saying that, oh, lithium is unsafe and it can run away, but it depends on what kind of lithium technology you're using. And all the major brands have steered away from NMC, which is nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Number one, because of the slave mining of cobalt. Number two, because of the inherent safety issues with it, where the lithium iron phosphate is actually a lot safer technology. And these companies that are manufacturing these, like CATL, BYD, REPT, all the big manufacturers, they invest billions of dollars into safety and to get their products safely certified so that they can go into these storage systems into the rest of the world. So from my side, it's about educating people, but I also want to understand why we are all shaving lithium as lithium, and there's various different chemical, compositions of lithium at the end of the day.
Fine, as I mentioned, if I may have a word, I
Yeah,
mentioned that there's different technology involved, and I handled it as a general thing because obviously I know you sell responsible products, but I'm afraid in our industry,
There are a
our
lot of
consumers
unresponsible people, yeah.
Sorry, if I just may have a word.
Yeah.
In our industry, our consumers do not necessarily know. It is an expensive endeavor to install a system in a house that can carry your whole household. So a lot of guys go for non-accredited, non-responsible suppliers, and that is where we're seeing the hazard. So like I said in the beginning, I wasn't targeting lithium batteries as a whole, but we are seeing an increase in fires. We are seeing the damage. And the responsible suppliers will get a bad name if we do not make everyone aware of the situation and everyone starts installing responsible systems. But that's not going to happen anytime soon unless we distinguish the good batteries, like you mentioned, the responsible manufacturers, and they're actually separated from the irresponsible manufacturers that just ship batteries without BMS units, without anything, with liquid electrolytes still, not even a kind of a solid electrolyte. So yeah, it is a problem that needs addressing, and yeah, there are
So
responsible
Coral,
systems out there that poses no risk.
Yeah, Coral, I think a good starting point is, to separate, the words lithium ion, from the various lithium technologies, and then, maybe get the education out there about the safety aspects around lithium iron phosphate compared to traditional lithium ion. And maybe this is an industry push that you guys can push, that South Africa should adopt, that number one, if it's not UL 954A certified, it's not coming into the country. I mean, that's a very, very tall order to ask, but at the end of the day, that'll be one of the biggest safety aspects, to get importers and distributors and manufacturers to comply with rather lithium iron phosphate over traditional lithium ion. Because yes, if you were to ask me, in my house, would I install an NMC battery over lead acid, I'll most probably go for lead acid first. But there has been tremendous leaps and bounds forward to get to a safe product from the large global manufacturers.
Yes. Thank you very much, Hein. Guys, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the meeting. Just to respect the timing, I think it is going to be better to rather conclude the meeting and finalize it. I think what we'll do is we will have a look at Marlise's document that she was talking about. We've got a number of other documents. We've got one on British standards for lithium-ion installations. We've got a Slovenian document as well, and all of them have valid points. And I think the idea would be to try and take a framework out of those different documents and tailor it for South African conditions, and taking into consideration that there are different technologies, and how those technologies are implemented is important. Yeah, absolutely. Johan mentioned something about accurate data. I think accurate data is absolutely essential. Guys, thank you very much. Thanks to the speakers, Monica, Patricia, and Marlise. Thank you for your time. Thanks for everybody attending. Guys, we'll provide some updates as the topic continues and as the discussion moves forward. Marius from the Fire Prevention Association, thanks to you guys too for logging in. Thanks for your time, and looking forward in having another productive meeting soon regarding fire prevention. Thanks, guys. Keep well. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.